Everybody, welcome to another episode of Fourth Quarter Life. I promised way back in the first episode that I would do a video on why I decided to name my channel Fourth Quarter Life. Essentially, quarters are very important. You have quarters in everything. It's a way to divide time. It's a way to measure how long you've done something. It's a way to judge your progress through something. So you have quarters in life, you have quarters in time, you have quarters in sports. So when it came time to decide on a title and a vision for this YouTube channel, I wanted something, a name especially, that would kind of bridge the two ends of life. Toward the end, the fourth quarter of your life, and also to the beginning, because I want at some point talk about the origins and origin stories and get into the history of video games, things like that. There's one thing that I thought about when I was thinking back to my earliest memories of video games, and that's going to the arcade. In the arcade, I went to an arcade before I ever had a home console. I got my first home console in 1979. Before that, it was video pong, things like that, but it wasn't a true console where you could change out the games and all that. So my first exposure to video games were in grocery stores or convenience stores or just little side rooms at a bar or things like that. And as kids often do, when you're bored, you ask your aunt or your mom for some money to go play the arcade game or the pinball machine. And if you're lucky, maybe you got $1. And with that $1, you're able to get 4 quarters, right? And the 4 quarters was kind of a big deal. When you had 4 quarters, when you have 4 chances to play these games, you really had to think about what you were going to do. Let's say your first game, you put it in a pinball machine and you play for, 2 minutes. You lose all 3 balls and it's gone. The second one, you put it in and maybe it's Space Invaders and you get crushed because you're no good at it because you're only 10 years old. So that one's gone. And the next one, maybe you put it in the pool table and you play a game of pool with your friend and it's gone. With the first 3 quarters, you might just kind of play different games. Didn't really matter because you always had another quarter. There's something special though about that 4th quarter. You look down in your hand and the first 3 quarters are gone and all you have left is that 1 quarter. And that became really important. What am I going to do with this 1 quarter? Am I going to play a new game that I've never played before, the shiny new Q*bert machine in the corner? Or am I going to go over here and play Asteroids that I know I can play for a long time and get a lot of play out of? It's just a way of thinking about the important decisions that we make for something as trivial as a quarter. But a quarter can mean a lot, especially to a kid. The same way that a quarter of your life can mean a lot. When you are born, your first quarter of life is 0 to 20, right? In that first quarter, you are going to school mostly, to be honest. You're learning to tie your shoes. You're learning to do things. You might get your first job. You'll get your first car. You learn how to drive. But if you're a collector, if that collector gene is in you, whether you get it from your parents or it's just something, I don't know where I got mine. My parents are not collectors, but for some reason, I valued things. And I valued things probably because we didn't have a lot. So if I got a Hot Wheel at the store, or if I got a record, or if I got a Star Wars figure, I kept that thing in great shape. And I didn't know at that time that I was a collector. I just thought I liked to keep my stuff in great condition because I wanted to play with it. I had friends who used to take their Hot Wheels and they'd put a Black Cat firecracker in there, drop it down the loop and light that firecracker and it would explode. Hey, that's great. That's fun, everything. But you know what? You do that 5, 10 times, your car's wheels may blow off. And next thing you know, you don't have a Hot Wheel anymore. And where I came from, the background that I had, having a Hot Wheel was a big deal. Having any toy was a big deal. So I learned early on to value my stuff. So I learned even though I didn't call it being a collector, I was a collector from early on, probably before I was 10. I remember being very young when I got my first Atari, my first video game system. It was in 1979. So I was just around 10, a little older, but every game that I got was special because it took a long time to save the $29. A lot of mowing lawns, a lot of throwing newspapers, a lot of working to save for that one game. So when I got that one game, even if it was something like Pac-Man that people today universally hate, back then it was great to be able to play Pac-Man at home for free and not have to waste your quarters on it anymore. You could save those valuable quarters for other games. So I think a big part of life and a big part of who you are gets established in that first quarter of your life. The second quarter of your life, that's 21 to 40. That typically becomes your family quarter. That's when you figure out what I want to do with my life. That's when you, if you go to higher education, great. If you get a job, if you get a house, you get a car, you establish where you're going to live. You might even start amassing some investments and some money, and you're able to now spend a little bit more money on your collection. So that's when your collection starts to expand. When you get to the third quarter, 41 to 60, that for me was the quarter that I started to actually pare back. When I hit my 50th birthday, I started to think, because all my life I kept buying and buying and buying and collecting it. And I've said this before, if I didn't have it, if I saw it at the store and I didn't have it, I would buy it. So when I hit 50, I started thinking, why am I still amassing all this stuff? I will never be able to play it all. I might not even be able to try them all and give them enough of a chance to decide if I want to play them. So that's kind of when I started backing off. That's when I said, I'm only going to collect what I really, really want. And in that time, from 50 to going on to 60, is when I like to think of, that's when you really start to decide what you're going to be for the rest of, for that fourth quarter. You get into your fourth quarter, for me, 61 to 80, that is when a lot of things change. Honestly, that's when a lot of people are not going to have time. You're not going to have time anymore to collect. You're not going to have time anymore, maybe even to play. There could be health issues, family issues, and you might have this great giant collection, but you're not really even a gamer anymore. You're not gaming. You're just collecting. And this actually starts in the third quarter, from 41 to 60. If you have kids, and if you have a family, if you have a husband, if you have a wife, you have a partner, and they're not into gaming, then your time gaming is going to be very limited. You know, you have to choose family time, game time. So the fourth quarter is really about, what do I do with this stuff? And I think we've all seen shows like American Pickers and Hoarders and Storage Wars. And I think a lot of us would like to think that our collection would someday either bring us money. If you're in it, if you're buying things in order to invest, well, then maybe in the fourth quarter is when you start selling it off and you start actually collecting on that investment that you've spent over the years. Or if you are a gamer, that's when you start saying, I've played all these games and I have all this wealth of knowledge in my head. Maybe I'm going to be an author. Maybe I'm going to create a website where I review games. Maybe I'm going to do something like that. So, but also, it could just be that you get to a point where you think, man, I have health issues, or there's something, or we have to move, or we have to, my job is taking me across country or to another country, and I can't take 60 Rubbermaid bins full of SNES games, so then you have to sell them, and do you start over? So that's kind of where this whole fourth quarter life thing came from, is that it's the importance of what you do with that final quarter. The last quarter, your last shot to play a game, your last shot to do something fun with this quarter, because you don't know if you're going to get another dollar or another quarter. And it's kind of I always thought of it as a metaphor for life, that when you get to the fourth quarter of your life, you've already gone through your first three quarters, and hopefully you've done great things, and you can look back on your first, second, and third quarter and everything is great. But still, you've got one quarter left, and this one quarter represents the future, everything. That final quarter, that last quarter, it's sitting in your hand, and it is full of possibilities. You don't know what you're going to do with it. But the fourth quarter is very important. It's your last one. I'm not even going to talk about overtime, because let's hope let's hope that everybody out there gets to overtime 81 plus, and you're happy and healthy, and you're traveling and you're having great family stuff. That's awesome. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of do a quick explanation here. I'm in very, very sunny, as you can see, very sunny Florida. And I just wanted to take this time to kind of reflect on the whole point of what this is, the whole point of why am I doing this? Why am I going to hopefully play some games on here? Why am I going to go over my collection? And I think it's a lot of, this is what I've chosen to do with my fourth quarter. I'm not in the fourth quarter yet, mind you, very close. And so as I cross over from the third to that final, hopefully not, final quarter, I think I wanted to do something gaming wise, since it has been such an important part of my life since the very beginning, almost as early as I can remember, not quite as early as I can remember, but almost as early as I can remember. I would see video games out in stores, and my friends would have a Pong system in their house, or some Pong ripoff, or something like that. And it was just magic to be able to use a regular television and actually interact with it. So to be able to interact with those little pixels on the screen was very magic back in the day. And from that early age, I was just amazed by that. And I think that's why I got an Atari. And I've kind of been in and out, not solid. There's been times I haven't been in gaming, but generally in and out of gaming for the last years. And this is what I wanted to do. I just decided to go into my fourth quarter life trying to rediscover the joy of gaming, because I've really become more of a collector than a gamer over the last 20 years. So let's get back to gaming. Let's get back to, I still want to collect, but let's get back to actually playing the games and sharing it with you guys. And hopefully you'll come along for the ride and have a good time. And I hope I haven't droned on too long. And if you stayed this long, and if you haven't liked or subscribed, it'd mean a lot to me if you did. Quick like, quick subscribe. Doesn't mean much to you, but it means a whole lot to me, because I really do want to give this a go. And if nobody is interested, then I'm going to stop. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day. And next time I talk to you, I'm hoping that we'll be maybe doing a store tour, or we'll be doing some sort of a video game review or live stream or something like that. All right. Thanks for watching Fourth Quarter Life. You guys have a good one. Bye now.